Alright, hello everyone. Today I'm going to go over this VIC circuit diagram here, and I'm going to compare it to a flyback transformer type circuit. And one of the biggest things here I found out through my discoveries is that by reversing the diode direction or the pole that it is connected to, either being the north or south end of that secondary coil there, changed the waveform entirely to the point to where I'm able to achieve equal opposite polarity pulses directly to my cell, as you'll see in previous videos. Now here in this video here, this is taken from the water fuel cell memo, and you'll see here this coil orientation here. These dots typically denote which direction these coils are pointed. So in this case we have a north, 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 and north. And we see that this diode is on the north end of this secondary coil with current respective. This is Stan's Revenge. If we take a look at the schematic of a flyback converter, and you will see here that we have these two dots in a similar fashion. Now, in this diagram here, what we see here, what was presented to me, was that the dot here typically indicates, if we have power going into this dot, power is exiting through the other dot. That is a well-known function of these transformers. And you can see here we have north end here and north end here, current in, current out. But you see this diode up here. This diode is on, in fact, the negative end of this coil. Isn't that interesting? Now, I know that the VIC operates kind of in a flyback type manner, but what I want to specifically point out here in this is that a traditional flyback converter has this diode on the negative end of this coil. And you can see the direction of that current is, a matter of fact, reversed. So normally in this scenario we would have current flowing in this direction. However, this diode stops it from going that direction. Going back to our other diagram here, if this be true, we see here this being the north end of this, or positive end of this coil here. We can see the current goes out and travels in this direction relative to that blocking diode. Per my works, I've taken this diode and I've essentially moved it down here, or reversed it in some fashion or another. Now, as a caveat I want to add to this video here is that there's some confusion apparently online. As you'll see here, which I'm going to start this recording right now for this, I've googled flyback transformer circuit on, search engine here. You get a whole list of results, obviously, but here I want to point out some discrepancies which I really would love some clarification on in the community, because I'm still puzzled to see which one is correct. Here we see here positive here coming into the primary circuit. Here's the dot indicator, actually more on the output of this primary coil. And then we have the dot right here indicating coil orientation, and it is, let's say if this is the output north, this is or positive, let's say. The diode is in reference to, let's say, Stanley Meyer's patents. We're going to look into that. This is from Coilcraft. So we're going to go to the next option here. We see positive coming in here. We have the dot orientation here. But the dot orientation here shows that the diode is on the opposite end of this dot indicator. Interesting. Now let's take a look. That was from passivecomponents.eu. Next one we have here, we have the positive here, directional dot here. This is also on the negative end of this of this circuit here. Electronics for You is the site on that one. Reference. Here's another one. Positive coming in, indicator dot. The other indicator dot on the opposite. We have the diode on the opposite end of this transformer. What's going on here? That was from lithenic.com. Another one. Positive in, orientation dot opposite here, but we have the diode on the opposite end of this pole right here. The negative, no, this one shows it's on the positive. This shows the orientation dot here, but we have a positive output here, and the diode, really crazy. Okay, what was that from? Futureelectronics.cn. Here's another one. Orientation dot actually on the opposite end of the primary. Okay, then we have it on the opposite end up here, which essentially would be the positive. We have the north, or the positive out, indicator, coil orientation, diode, positive out. Okay, times.eu. Yet another one, positive in, orientation dot on the negative, or the opposite end of this orientation dot. I mean, all over the place. I mean, which one is true? Is there something I'm missing? There's another one, positive in, orientation dot. Orientation dot out. It's on the opposite end of it, but it shows a positive output on this. What in the deal? Researchgate.net. Okay, and that was that one. This one here from Texas Instruments looks like the orientation dot is at the opposite end. And then we have the orientation over here, which is on the same end of the diode, but it does not show us the actual polarity output of that. That was from Texas Instruments. The last one I pulled out here is this one here, positive in, orientation dot, diode on the opposite side of it, but no indicator of what is positive output over here. Very interesting results. So which one's correct? Is there a certain application here I'm missing? Is there more ways to decipher the orientation of that coil pertaining to the transformer itself and how it's magnetizing the core and the orientation and polarity of that core? I really need some clarification on this, because in this video here that you're going to see, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I reverse diode polarity, direction, and location on that secondary coil. So please, if you do know anything, can help me out, leave something in the comments. Let me know where I'm wrong, where I possibly could improve on my understanding of this. Appreciate it.
This is Stan's Revenge.
Per my works, I've taken this diode and I've essentially moved it down here, or reversed it in some fashion or another. And only when I do that am I able to produce equal opposite polarity pulses to the cell. And it's just kind of rather strange to me, because it seems like these dots here and even this writing tends to almost be superimposed on this image. And I'm wondering, were these documents modified? Did something happen here? Because I know, like, if I go to like Microsoft Paint and I draw a straight line, you can see like this right here, it's kind of alias, kind of blocky. It doesn't really coincide with the kind of scratchy, kind of garbled line that these are drawn out as, where these are a much more solid line, if you will. And I'm wondering who put these in here. Was this a modified graphic? Are what we seeing essentially invalid images here? Is this something that maybe even Stan did to throw us off, to keep us from understanding the technology? Or is this something maybe added after the fact by sources unknown to throw off the community? And these dots here, you can see these dots, they almost look like they don't belong, that they were put there after the fact. and given from like the, like these lines here are kind of jagged and all that kind of stuff, these are solid, filled in, and they just don't fit in. And I'm wondering what's going on here. Going back to this image here, a standard flyback converter is in this fashion. This diode is on the opposite end as compared to this. Here we have the north, say positive end, let's say, of this secondary coil going directly to that diode with current respective, whereas this flyback converter has this north end, this positive end here, going directly to the cell, let's say, and it's on the negative end, the south end of this coil, that this diode is connected. And this is exactly what I have found with my works, is that I am not able to achieve the waveform that I need to produce what I'm producing without moving this diode to the opposite side of this coil here. And I'm able to figure that out thanks to the use of this VIC Matrix Switchboard that I created, that basically lets me switch polarities of the primary coil, switch the polarity of the secondary coil, change the direction of the blocking diode, essentially, polarity of these inductors, and even the output to the cell. Let me switch the polarity on all these different components of this circuit. And throughout my testing and research here, I have been able to achieve the equal opposite polarity pulses by simply changing this diode so that it is on the opposite end of what this diagram states. And I want to maybe comb through this in a later video here to definitively show you guys what I have found. And I believe this to be so crucial, so incredibly critical to the cell's operation, that I think just most people overlook it. They are going directly by what this is, when in fact this has been nefariously modified, or has been these dots put in place to literally prevent us from replicating Stan's results. Because doing through this orientation of these coils, you will not get the waveforms that you need. You will only get the waveforms by switching this diode to the opposite end of this secondary coil, making it mimic a flyback converter. But this, I find, this is one of the most important discoveries of my time with Stan Meyer's technology. I think this is a key unlock to understanding his technology and how to operate it, because clearly I've not seen anyone really replicate the devices in the same fashion that I am, nor produce the same results gas production wise that I have. And I'm not, tooting my own horn here, just trying to, poo-poo everyone else's work, but this is a major discovery, I believe, that is so important. And I would like you as well, if you happen to be one of these individuals that are in the community that are experimenting with his work, mimic this flyback converter schematic layout here. Reverse your diode, flip it on the other side, play around with configuration settings to see what your oscilloscope does. And I believe that you will be just as shocked and impressed as I am when you discover that this diagram is not correct. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to have more videos like this coming up soon. Keep at it. More to come.
This is Stan's Revenge.